Hey guys, I'm standing out here in front of the Southwest Florida Veterans Museum, and we just had a seminar on VA benefits and your VA loan. So I've got a lot of experience. I'm a veteran myself. I served Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom. And these guys here from the Mutual of Omaha, they just put on a great class. They broke down all the benefits. So if you're thinking about buying a home, you really need to look at your VA benefits. It's such a good loan program right now. They've had a lot of changes this year. So if you want to give me a call and I can explain all those changes to you, I'd love to help. So give me a call, 239-425-5255.
I'm Jenna Tarazi. This is Kathy Van Cycle. I work in the Cape office. Kathy works in our Fort Myers branch. And we're so happy that you decided to join us for this class because I personally feel, and I'm sure Kathy does too, that this is probably one of our most important classes that we have partnered with Mutual of Omaha on. And it's super important to make sure that our veterans are taken care of. I'm sure you all have had situations where VA loans maybe didn't go great and you got into a situation where you may have moved them or the lender had to move them to something else. So at Fidelity, we're very passionate about helping the veterans. We want to make sure that, we're taking very, very, very good care of them. Again, this is one of our, I think it's definitely one of my favorites. Kathy.
Well, David's really quiet, so that makes it hard to pay attention.
No, but David is an amazing speaker, and we hope that you find a lot of value in this class, and I'm sure that you will. David is going to talk to you about everything VA loans, and we're super excited, so I hope you guys enjoy the
We
class.
get to offer three things because of this. Number one, 100% financing. A VA loan can be a 100% loan. And guess what? As of January 1st, 2020, 7 weeks ago, the rules just changed. Now, a VA loan has no caps on it. It's whatever you can qualify for. We have a loan under contract right now for $1.6 million, 100% financed. The VA will guarantee at any amount you can qualify for. There are some rules, I'll tell you guys those later. 100% financing. Can you put money down on a VA loan? Yes, everybody knows this, right? So we had a realtor sit in one of our classes, and they sent us a client. They were talking to the in-house lender, and this particular veteran wanted to put down 10%. The in-house lender told him, "I'm sorry, a VA loan's 100% loan." See, we say it sounds crazy, right? It's kind of funny. Now let me offer you a different way to think about this. How does a loan officer get commissioned? Based on loan amount. And if you're putting 10% down, what did you just do? Thank you. Secondly, VA loans have awesome interest rates, right? Sometimes it doesn't even matter if your credit, it doesn't have to be stellar. We actually just locked a loan, a 30-year loan under 3%. Guys, I'm telling you, right now it's the lowest I've ever personally seen it in 18 years. Right now, we just did it. And I sat there and I was like, even now I'm thinking about refining it. And interest rates can be awesome, right? It doesn't mean everybody's going to qualify at that rate, but interest rates can be awesome. And the most important thing, something we're going to talk about multiple times today, a VA loan does not have PMI. There is no mortgage insurance. So what did I just tell you? A veteran right now can get any home at any price that they can qualify for with a great interest rate, and there's no mortgage insurance. Pretty awesome, isn't it? All right. At the recruiter's office. We start there, and it moves the other way. All right, rules. A lot of rules when it comes to the VA, right? So these are the things that we hear quite a bit of. First, to get a VA loan. 620, 720, 585, 800, that'd be perfect, flawless, bulletproof. 680. Guess what the VA's actual rule is? They don't have a rule. The VA doesn't care what your credit score is. How long do you have to work at your job before you can get a VA loan? Same answer. VA doesn't care. They don't have those rules. And don't go tweeting things out just yet. Let me explain. Right? The VA has a couple rules. First one's the big one. Did you serve serve the proper amount of time? Were you in the military long enough? Second rule, did you do it the right way? Meaning, do you have the appropriate discharge? And I'll show you what all those look like here in a minute. All the other rules, these are lender rules. The VA doesn't actually have lending guidelines. What they do is the VA monitors the banks, right? They task every single lender with evaluating the risk of lending money. Why is this important? As a lender, if we're not evaluating risk the right way, these things go into foreclosure. Who's on the hook for 25%? The VA, right? So they look at us, they say, if you write a bunch of bad loans, guess what? You're no longer allowed to do VA loans. Let me say it differently. If you're working with a lending institution and they don't offer VA loans, wonder what happens. Most people don't choose to not help them out. Here's what's really crazy. Every single bank evaluates risk differently, don't they? So I'll say it this way. In the United States today, there are 5,700 banks that can write VA loans. There are 5,700 different VA loans out there. What did I really just say? If the first bank says no, what should you do? Go to the next one. Make sense? Because every single bank's going to look at it, they're going to say, I have a 620 credit score, and you got to be at your job for at least a year. Another bank's going to say, you need a 575 credit score, and we don't care if you've worked at your job for 2 paychecks, right? Every single bank evaluates risk differently, but ultimately most banks are going to put rules in place to keep them from getting in trouble. Make sense? All right, let's talk about the myths. Some of these are the things that we hear most of the time. First one, do your benefits expire? No, not anymore. Everybody knows that. Can I use it more than once? Yes. Can I have more than one at a time? No. What's the answer? Yes. Yes. Say what? You want me to sign back? Yes. I can have more than one at a time. Is there a size limit to the VA loan? No. Actually, there never was. There was a maximum that the VA would guarantee. That didn't mean that was the max that you could do. Largest VA loan closed last year was $9.2 million. And the realtor got 3%. If I had a foreclosure or a short sale on a VA loan, can I ever get another VA loan? Yes. Yes. How long do I have to wait?
2 years.
We'll get there. We'll get there. 3 years. Let's see. VA loans are expensive. Why? There is one thing on a VA loan that's expensive. What is it? The dreaded VA funding fee. And I'll talk about it at length. Is it difficult to get a condo or a builder approved? Builder is no. When we get a builder approved in 48 hours, right? Condos may be a challenge, right? About half the condos out there are already approved, just so you know. But condos, if they use a verbiage that says that the condo association has the first right of refusal, that oftentimes is a challenge for the VA, right? A lot of condo associations are getting away from that, but some still hold that power, and the VA doesn't like it, okay? So first right of refusal, challenge. Does the VA allow same-sex marriages? They do now. They do now. I'll show you later why it's important. Can you have a VA loan on a rental property?
Yes.
You said you do, right? So the answer is? Yes. Yes. Can I buy a rental property with a VA loan? No. I mandatorily have to occupy it. And I'll talk about those rules later. Alright. So here we go. We just had a short sale. We just had a foreclosure. How long do we have to wait until we get another VA loan?
2 years.
3 years, 2 years? No wait. Why? Who has the responsibility of evaluating the risk of giving money? The lender. Everybody tracking? So the lender has the responsibility of evaluating the risk. I'm going to tell you right now, almost every single bank out there has some sort of a waiting period, right? You can't just foreclose and buy houses tomorrow. But some banks have investors. And the investors are going to say, what's your story? things sometimes happen to good people. All right, so we had a scenario. This was back in August. We had a couple. They had a foreclosure. That foreclosure was about 7 months old. When we talked to them, the scenario, unfortunately, is they had a sick child, and they were spending a lot of time in the hospital. They weren't working a bunch, and ultimately they had to make a decision, and they let the house go. But their baby was doing a lot better. They were back to work full time, and they just called us and they begged us. They said, we have to get our life back. Make sense? Shouldn't we have the right to evaluate what were you like prior to the catastrophe? Did you do things the right way? And do you have the, looking at what you're going to be in the future, does it make financial sense that you're going to continue to do things the right way? That's why the VA says there's no waiting, guys. But a lot of banks have a waiting period. Not necessarily, they don't actually have it. Okay? All right, VA loans are expensive. First thing, the dreaded VA funding fee. A lot of questions about to come up on the test right here. The VA funding fee. First question, when is it paid? At closing. Never, ever, ever before. And I'm going to share a horror story in just a minute. Close. That is an excellent question. There are 3 ways that the VA funding fee can be paid. I love where you're going. You'll be teaching this class today. There are 3 traditional ways that VA funding fee can be paid. What are they? Who can pay it?
Seller.
The seller can pay it. Who else? The buyer can pay it. And 90+% of the time, it is rolled into the loan. It is financed. It is rolled into the loan. So on the test, there are 3 traditional ways to pay the VA funding fee. Paid by the buyer, paid by the seller, rolled into the loan. Everybody got it? All right. As of 7 weeks ago, there is a new VA funding fee chart that just popped out. Purchase and construction loans. Does the VA have a construction loan product? They do now. Right? So here we go. I am a veteran. So this now, the chart is the same for everybody. It used to be higher if you were in the reserves or National Guard. Now everybody, active duty, veterans, reserves, National Guard, we all pay the same fee. So I'm a veteran, I'm getting 100% loan. I'm putting 0 money down. Everybody tracking? The VA funding fee, the first time I use it, test question is 2.3%. The first time I use my mortgage, it is 2.3%. Paid at closing, can be paid by the buyer, by the seller, or rolled into the loan. For every subsequent use, this means house number 2, house number 10, house number 20, it is, test question, 3.6%. 3.6%. Alright, so first is 2.3, second is 3.6. So apparently, a group of people just got an investigation by the VA, got in a lot of trouble, lost their license and other things. Guess what they were doing? They were having the veteran pay the funding fee in cash prior to closing, and then they were financing it into the loan and hoping they didn't catch it. When is the VA funding fee paid? Never before. Everybody tracking? Because I don't know about you, but 2.3% on a $300,000 house is what? Like $7 grand? 7,000 being paid in cash, and then they turn around and hit it in the loan anyway. It's pretty shady, isn't it? Yeah.
You know what I'm asking?
Yeah. You start doing some shady things like that, you're done. You're done. And you deserve to be done. Say it again. It's in the Scotsman's Guide from July of last year. Can you put money down on a VA loan? Yes. And guess what? As little as 5% down drops the VA funding fee to 1.65. one-time fee to 1.65. Does a VA loan have PMI? No. Does an FHA loan have PMI or MIP? Yes. For how long? Forever. Yes, the life of the loan, right? Is that same loan? So here's what's crazy. It is estimated that about 44% of the veterans in this country have an FHA loan. 44% is the number that we heard. Alright, so let's talk about it. Jeff, on an FHA loan, I have a down payment responsibility. How much is that? 3.5. Everybody see that? I'm putting down 5%, but again, that's equity. Everybody tracking? An FHA loan has an upfront mortgage insurance premium. How much is that? 1.75 versus 1.65. Which way does the alligator go? We don't know. Math is hard. We just know that 175 is bigger, right? Alright. Does a VA loan have PMI? No. What is the annual mortgage insurance premium on an FHA loan? 0.85. So roughly, a $210,000 house is about $200 a month. Okay? $200 a month times 12 is what? 2,400. Average veteran stays in their house 7 to 10 years. 2,400 times 10 is what? $24,000 thrown down the drain because you gave up a benefit you already earned. Do you see where it's kind of ridiculous? Do you know who fell into that category for 7 years? 7 years because somebody told me FHA would be easier than VA. I paid MIP for 7 years. And I look at it now and I'm like, my total money lost for me was a little over $17,000. And if I find Scooter, he's a dead man. Should have known. The loan officer named Scooter. Well, I'm a quick learner. Alright, next thing I'm going to tell you is one of the most important things you're going to learn all day. This is the reason why you're in the class. This is the one that matters. You ready? VA made a change. If the veteran has any service-connected disability, the VA funding fee is waived for life. Any service-connected disability. It used to be 60%, then they dropped it to 40%, and they finally came out and said, you know what, if you got injured at all serving our country, you never have to pay the VA funding fee again. Why does that matter? Because guys, about 50% of all the veterans in this country have some sort of documented disability. You got a 50-50 chance. The only thing that makes this loan expensive is gone. Right? And then you talk about getting an awesome interest rate, 100% finance, no PMI, and this is gone. It's the greatest loan on earth. Make sense? So here's a question. Should you ask? Yes! Yes! If you can save me 3.6%, should you ask? Yes! Better question. How do you ask? There are correct ways to ask, and there are ways not to ask. Right? Hey, how disabled are you? I'm just different. Dude, where's your arm? There are a couple correct ways to ask. There's more than a few, but here's a couple that I like. Do you have a service-connected? Service-connected means what? Military-related. Do you have a military-related disability? Are you receiving any funds from the VA? Why? If I'm getting money from the VA, there's a real good chance I have a service-connected disability, right? Some people don't like to ask, so you will lead through education. Did you know that if you have a service-connected disability, a lot of fees on your mortgage get waived? Cool? Yep. PTSD, minimum 40% disability rating. VA funding fees gone. Tinnitus, you guys heard of it? Yeah. Ringing in the ears, VA funding fee is gone, right? And if they say yes, that they have a service-connected disability, what do you not do? Don't probe. Oh, you have PTSD? How bad is it? You're gonna find out. Guys, you'll be surprised, man. People, it's like they just can't help themselves. Leave it alone. You need to tell your lender. Here's why. If you don't ask, and your lender doesn't ask, what happens? You have to pay it. And here's what the VA just said. If you paid the VA funding fee, you had a service-connected disability prior to closing, the VA will actually refund your funding fee because you were taken advantage of because you didn't know. Your lender should know, but most of them don't. Pretty cool, right? If the VA's giving money back, isn't there a problem? Right? That means more than one person's getting taken advantage of. Question?
Does that show on their DD 214?
It'll show on a couple different things, but I'm about to show you guys where to get it. I've seen it go back 20 months, but there's no actual defined timeline. I've seen it go back 20 months. Here's what they just released on January 1st, talking about the service-connected disability. The second one that they just released was a Purple Heart. If you have a Purple Heart, then your VA funding fee. If you're active duty and have a Purple Heart, your VA funding fee is waived as well. Cool? All right. Yep.
I was gonna say, I just saw that, and the person that was doing the mortgage underneath somebody is like, oh, I didn't see it. I'm like, oh, we were supposed to charge it, but it was up to us to point that out. Like, in
Which you should be.
So as realtors, you have a chance to go over any of the mortgage documents and oversee the closing documents. You can see that. So you're not supposed to have it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're not aware,
They'll make sure to put it on
that's
there.
why you guys have to know. Surviving spouse is huge, too, right? There's all kinds of different ways that somebody can qualify as a surviving spouse to receive benefits from the VA. Now, ultimately, it's about documentation, how long you were married, how long you supported and took care of that person. The surviving spouse will send you more information on it. There are a lot of people in this country who have surviving spousal benefits for the VA. You'd be surprised. I got it. Paparazzi's back out. It's been up for an hour.
Yeah, if you can repeat the question, Dave, somebody asked so that everybody
Alright, talking about surviving spouses, I'll send information on it. Usually it's killed in action, could result in somebody who committed suicide, PTSD, things like that. Usually it has to do with somebody who has 100% disability and the spouse took care of that person for, I want to say it's 5 years. 5 years, 10 years. I think it's 5, right? And usually where you see that come up is, the biggest one that we see is Agent Orange from Vietnam. Agent Orange didn't kill them right away, but ultimately it made their life pretty bad as it went on. Everybody know what Agent Orange is?
Yeah.
It's that chemical from Vietnam. It's not a good thing. So usually the spouse who took care of that person for 5 years, they would have VA benefits until they pass. Okay, so just be aware of that. All right, this is one of the greatest websites in the world. It is also a test question. It is known as ebenefits.va.gov. va.gov. You see if they'll crank that meter up.
Jenna, want to get the air turned down to 60?
ebenefits.va.gov. Alright, so this is a website created by the government to help veterans self-service, right? So as a veteran, I can log on to eBenefits and I can get all kinds of information. I can get my DD 214. What is that? Discharge form, also known as Freedom Letter. Don't call me, I'm out. I can get my certificate of eligibility. What is that? It is the certificate of eligibility for the Department of the Redundancy. That is the piece of paper that says I can get a VA loan, right? I can get, where that giant arrow's pointing, proof of a service-connected disability. Why do I need that? Waive the VA funding fee. I can do all of this at home. I can print it out on my home printer, and it comes out on VA this first came out about 8 years ago, it was only designed for people who served in the military from 1990 and forward, right? He said, but in the last 8 years, they've been adding to it, adding to it, adding to it. He said right now he feels confident saying that they have over 90% of all VA records uploaded into this website dating back to World War II. Pretty cool. So my father is a Marine, Vietnam. I went to his house, I got him registered, we pulled his certificate of eligibility, and we pulled his DD-214 in probably 15 minutes, and he hadn't seen that stuff in 50 years. It asks you about 5 questions that only you know the answer to. Last social, mother's maiden name, branch of service, and dates of service, and something crazy, like who was your girlfriend in 2nd grade? I don't remember the last one. Just guess. The government knows. Right? Somebody knows. Right? Second thing he said is there's going to be some folks who register for this website and nothing will be there. Do you know why? Who said it? Someone's talking.
The non-military person.
Yes! The VA Records Facility in St. Louis, I think it was 1999, actually caught on fire and burned down, and there was a lot of folks who lost their stuff, right? So sometimes things won't be there, and I want to say, if I'm correct, I think it was a lot of folks who might have been in the Korean War were a part of that fire, right? So that generation was there. It's not the only records facility, that was just one of them, okay? And third thing he told me, which was really interesting, he said, unfortunately, less than 40% of the veterans in this country have ever logged on to this website. I asked him why. What do you think the answer is? Tell everyone you know. I'll tell you guys, the VA's had a rough rap over the years. They have gotten significantly better. They've increased their service. They've gotten better on the medical side. They've gotten better on the real estate side. There's things that are out there, but unfortunately, if people don't know, what happens? No one uses it, right? Even if it's .va.gov. All right, who qualifies? Veterans, yes, but specifically, who qualifies? If you have an honorable discharge, you qualify. If you have in general under honorable conditions, what is that? That usually means you got some kind of a medical discharge, something along those lines. You're still eligible for VA loan. Case by case, from the VA, you actually have to ask the VA. General under other than honorable can be a million different things. Some that we've seen that fall under that. Sometimes the military does something called downsizing, right? You may or may not have served the right amount of time, but it wasn't your fault, right? The 2 for the test. Who does not qualify? The opposite of honorable is dishonorable, and then my absolute favorite, bad conduct. Do you know how bad you have to be worse than dishonorable? You gotta bring it. You gotta bring it. Yeah, you gotta beat your A game. So if you ask somebody, hey, what type of discharge do you have? And they say bad conduct, do not put them in your car. Man, don't fight the Navy, they'll fight you. You know what you do with them? You know what you do with them? Refer them. You refer them to that realtor that you don't really care for. And you know what you tell them? Should you survive, I want my money. I want my 25%. If you make it out of this, I want mine. Case by case, we have to petition it to the VA. So she said, in certain circumstances, you may or may not have served the right amount of time, right? But it may be a medical reason that something happened. Oftentimes, we're going to talk directly to the VA on that, and it's up to the VA to allow us to burn out the certificate of eligibility. I've seen them do it. How much is the time? There it is. The time. So for those of you on the back, please read from the bottom up. You can't see it?
Can't see it.
Wow. That's what you get for coming late. Sorry. Or being shy, right? We're realtors. We're supposed to be friendly go. So based on every era that you're in the military, there's a different amount of time associated with how long you have to be there. So, for example, if you served in the Vietnam time period, you have to serve 90 total days to be eligible for a VA loan. Let me ask you a question. Is 90 days a long time in Vietnam? Yes. For the test, we're going to talk about the Gulf War era. The Gulf War era is the last 30 years. So from 1990 to current. Gulf War era, last 30 years. How long do you have to serve? The answer is 2 years, also known as 24 months. 24 months, or 90 days deployed. And by deployment, it's outside of the CONUS, continental United States. You cannot deploy from Fort Benning, Georgia to Fort Hood, Texas. You are still here. You just took a trip, not a deployment. 24 months is also known as what?
2 years.
2 years. Do not fight me on the test. Do not tell me my answer is not there. 24 months is 2 years or 90 days. The answer is C. C is in Charles. Yeah, that's what it is. Alpha Bravo Charles. That's not right. 2 years or 90 days. Seems pretty easy, right? So the VA throws us a curveball. It is known as, test question, fleet time. F-L-E-E-T. Fleet time. Fleet time. What this means is when you go to training, so when you sign up for the military, you go to basic training, right? You go to boot camp. Then after you complete that, you go to advanced training, where you learn how to do your job. All that time counts as being in the military. None of that time counts towards your 24 months. I'm not a huge fan of fleet time. I wish fleet time would change, but it doesn't. I met a gentleman who was in a nuclear submarine program. He was in that training course for 22 months. Been in the military for 22 months. Didn't have 1 day towards his VA loan. Huh? Yeah, fleet time. 3 years. Yeah, fleet time can be a killer. And it really depends on how they label the training class too. So some training classes are determined not to be like that. Yes.
What if they're still have service-connected disability?
Service-connected disability usually overrides that. Fleet time. I'll show you guys an example of that. National Guard and Reserves. Total time, 6 years, or same rule, 90 days. 6 years or 90 days activated. And that 90 days activated, you could be in a support role for a war and could seek eligibility. Secondly, I'll tell you this. We talked to a whole bunch of people in the National Guard and Reserves who don't think they're ever eligible for a VA loan, right? They think it's an active duty benefit. 6 years or 90 days. Secondly, the word is or. So if somebody gets deployed for 90 days, but they only serve 4 years, they're eligible. Make sense? And in this marketplace, I'm telling you, all over Florida, there were a whole bunch of units who got activated for Afghanistan and Iraq. There are a ton of people in this market who are eligible for VA loan, and they have no idea that they can get it. You have to tell them. Make sense? Possibly. We're always going to ask. We're always going to ask. Got it? Picture day. All right, here we go. Let's get that. This is an NGB 22. This is a test question discharge form for the National Guard. NG, National Guard. This is the same thing as a DD 214. NGB 22. This is a real one. This is an example. This person entered the service 1989, September 4th. The ETS, they got out. 1996, February 26th. That is 6 years, 5 months, and 22 days. National Guard. Are they eligible for a VA loan? Yes. Why?
6 years or 6 years.
They accomplished 6 years, right? Unfortunately, if you've never read an NGB 22, then you skipped the section for fleet time, which is section D, known This person was in training for 5 months and 24 days, and training time doesn't count. States, there's a way for them to get those 2 days. Do you know what it's called?
Re-enlist.
Re-enlist. Yeah, they don't have the 2-day contracts.
Is there a way to check for that before you go?
Before you leave the military?
Yeah.
Yeah. You should. I would. Most people don't know. Most people don't know. They don't know the rules. So when you're exiting the military, all my military guys, how fast are we trying to get out of there? See ya! Right? And I guarantee you they tell us all kinds of really, really important things. Because I'm out. Right? It's just the way it works. It's sad. Alright. Loan officers ordering the wrong documents from the VA, we're going to have all kinds of problems. Secondly, if you've got a lender who's telling you we need to switch to FHA, I got a problem. Right? If somebody's telling you to switch to FHA and they can't give you a bona fide reason, such as this person doesn't qualify, right, for VA, that's the only acceptable reason. If somebody's telling you that we have to switch to FHA, I want to know why, right? Because it may not be switching FHA, it may be switching the loan officer. Make sense? Because I'm going to tell you, for all the people who served in here, and the spouses of those who served, and our kids who served, is the only time I really get on my box, is on my soapbox. I shouldn't have to change my mortgage program, pay a penalty known as mortgage insurance, pay a penalty as PMI every single month because you don't understand how to do your job. That's how I personally feel about it. I spent 8 years in the military. You can give me an extra minute to figure out how to do VA. Fair?
Yep.
All right, I'll be happy again. There are a bunch of different documents in the VA. There's a bunch of different things we have to look at. It confuses loan officers all the time. What an active duty is a DD2, you don't need to know this. Active duty is a DD214, Coast Guard is a CG718A or a DD214. Reserves is a DD256, National Guard is an NG222, and every single piece of paper looks and reads a little bit different than the last one. Why? To confuse loan officers. Yes. How many of you guys get by math? 60% of my test is math-based. For those of y'all who are really bad at math, you don't know what that means. You mean realtor math? 3% math? Well, we can do that with 7, so we just... I got realtor math. That was the fastest math I learned. Second I became a realtor. Well, I got good at that. A, B, C, or D. You got a 25% chance. Alright, here we go. The VA loan is made up of 2 different tiers. Tier 1, created in 1944, says that if you were buying a house, the VA would guarantee you between $0 and $144,000. So the real question, in the 1950s, was $144,000 enough money to buy a good house?
Yes.
How about the 60s?
Yes.
70s? 80s? 90s for sure. Didn't we start to see home prices in the 90s go over that 144
Yeah.
mark? So we had a problem. In the 1990s, we didn't have enough money to buy the houses that we wanted to buy. And the VA had to make a change. So they waited 14 years. And they created Tier 2. Tier 2 is known as, test question, bonus entitlements. Bonus entitlement. Tier 1 is basic. Bonus entitlement says that if you serve the proper amount of time to be eligible in Tier 1, you're automatically eligible for Tier 2. You don't have to be in the military longer to get a bigger house. Make sense? Test question. Bonus entitlement starts at 144,001. And I will show you mathematically why it matters in a second. 144,001. It goes up to your county loan limit, which is still in effect in a couple of certain circumstances, which I'm about to explain. Your new county loan limit for 2020, test question, is $510,400. $510,400. That's for bonus entitlement. So this is how much buying power you actually have with the VA in certain circumstances, which I'll explain in a second. $510,400. weeks ago, the VA says that if you don't have an active VA loan and you've never had a foreclosure with a VA loan or a default in any case, then you can buy at whatever price point you want based on what you can qualify to pay back. Pretty cool, right? If you don't have an active VA loan and you've never had a default, then you can buy at any price point you want. The county loan limit doesn't matter. County loan limits specifically come in place if you've ever defaulted on a VA loan or if you own multiple houses with multiple VA loans. Then the government will only guarantee $510,400. Make sense? I'll show you guys mathematically. This is your certificate of eligibility. This is the most important piece of paper that you absolutely have to have to get a VA loan. Everybody tracking? So here's what you're going to ask the loan officer you work with. I want you to work with us, but the loan officer you work with, you're going to ask 2 questions. Number 1, did you pull the certificate of eligibility for your client? Jeff, how fast can you get a certificate of eligibility? Minutes. Guys, it's electronic. We as lenders can pull your certificate of eligibility instantaneously, okay? And if you don't let us do it, how can they go get it? ebenefits.va.gov. They can get it themselves, right? Second thing you're going to ask your loan officer, did you actually read it? Why? Because a mistake on your COE right now is averaging about 20 days to get corrected, right? Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's not. Number 1 mistake, misspelled name. Misspelled name. Number 2, there are 1.9 million female veterans in this country right now. And they may or may not have served with the same last name that they have today. But what is the COE going to say? Their maiden name or their name at that time, whatever, you might have to get that corrected. 1.9 million female veterans.
I have to get that corrected on the COE. I can't show a marriage license to prove.
So why does it matter? Yes, the marriage license is what's going to be proved to the VA to change the COE, right? So that's what we have to do to change that. The certificate of eligibility dictates how we have to write all mortgage documents. So if your driver's license and your mortgage documents say 2 separate things, Kathy, will I ever be able to close? No, not going to happen. Everything has to match. Make sense? So I was doing this class in Las Vegas, and I had a real estate agent sitting in front of me, Angela. She texted her loan officer, and then she stood up and she read the message to the class. I made her send me a screenshot because some things are just too good to pass. This is Angela and her loan officer. Did you order the COE for Sergeant Fincher? Loan officer, what's that?
Oh my gosh.
I'm sitting in the VA training class right now, learning about how all this stuff works. Great. You want to go to lunch and teach me a few tricks?
Oh my gosh.
How long until Sergeant Fincher's going FHA? How long until Sergeant Fincher's about to get notified that he needs 3.5% to put down?
Yeah.
He's all ready. So, oddly enough, when we pulled this file over, guess what it had? It had an FHA case number on it. Sergeant Fincher was going FHA the whole time. Guys, that's what people are faced with out there. Now, do you have the COE and does everything look good? Make sense? So we pulled this file over, asked Angela how long she was showing houses in Vegas. And Vegas is a ridiculously hot market. She'd been showing houses for 2 months with 100% financing addendum and never even knew that she had no clue there was a letter. I don't know about you. How much you guys like driving around? Alright, so I was informed by some of the other branches that sometimes I can be a bit too army. I grew up in a Marine house. That's why I went army. I was really good at making beds though. Alright, veterans basic entitlements. So if you remember, there's tier 1 and tier 2. Basic entitlement, bonus entitlement. Veterans basic entitlement is $36,000. So here's what's crazy about the COE. This is another area that I'd like the VA to make some updates on, and I think that they're actually working on it. But the COE, the veterans basic entitlement, or basic basic entitlement is always shown. Bonus entitlement is never shown. Okay? So here's what I mean by that. Veterans basic entitlement is $36,000. Well, when you read that, what does that tell you? If you're like every veteran out there, and even some loan officers hide behind this, if you're going to use your VA loan, you only have $36,000 which you can purchase a house with. Are there a lot of good $36,000 houses in your market? No. Do I have to lock the door? Do I have a door? So here's what's crazy. If I take $36,000 and I multiply it by 4, it equals $144,000. Sound familiar? When I see $36,000, you know what this really means? This person doesn't have a foreclosure, and this person doesn't have any outstanding VA loans. This person's eligible to buy at any price point they can afford. Shouldn't it just say that? They're working on it. They're working on it. But right now, when you see $36,000, this is one of the most confusing things. When veterans pull that document off, they read it, they think, I can only buy for 36. I don't understand what's going on. Right? There's more questions about that than anything I've ever seen. Cool. This person's basic entitlement is 0. Why? They've already purchased a couple houses. They've already used their benefit for basic entitlement. This person's basic entitlement is $26,000. Why? They have a foreclosure. And the foreclosure, this arrow was pointing right here, on their entitlement, they have lost $9,556. This is now known as, test question, burnt entitlement. Burnt like burnt toast. Technically, it's encumbered entitlement. They have lost the ability to use a portion of their VA loan. Burnt entitlement. So now they have reduced buying power. And when you have a foreclosure, what comes back into effect? County loan limits. Everybody tracking?
Yeah.
So this person has reduced buying power. This one's really, really, really old. And I'll give you an example for today in just a second. But when a house goes into foreclosure, the bank repossesses a house that's in foreclosure. What does the bank do with it? They sell it. And aren't they going to make some of that money back? Do you know you have the right to call the VA? You can ask them, how much does this veteran really owe? And when we call the VA on this one, they say, give us the $419 we lost. We'll give you all of your burnt entitlement back, and now you can go buy a house at any price limit you can qualify for. So test question, can you buy back burnt entitlement? Yes. Second test question, do you have to? No. You will just have reduced buying power. Make sense? We had another one that was pretty recent. They bought a $200,000 house. It went into foreclosure. They lost $200,000 of buying power. Make sense? What is your county loan limit? 510. 510 minus 200, how much could they purchase? 310. Make sense? They could go over that, but they'd have a down payment responsibility. I'll save you from that. All right. Tier 1. I'm buying a $90,000 house. I sell it. I have to apply for restoration. I'm buying my next house for $144. I sell it. I have to apply for restoration. When a house is sold that has a VA loan on it, is the VA on the hook for 25% anymore? No, right? So what do we have to do? We have to restore your eligibility. Jeff, how long does it take to restore VA benefits? Guys, it's instantaneous. When the house is sold, it's done. So what does this actually mean? I can go to Fidelity National Title, I can sell a house with a VA loan, and I can close on a house with a VA loan in the exact same day. Everybody hear me? 3 firms got put on probation last year. Guess what they were doing? These 3 firms were telling veterans, I'm sorry, the restoration process can take up to 6 months. So we have to put you in an FHA loan first, and in 6 months we'll refinance you into a VA loan you've earned. Let me ask you a question. Do you pay fees when you get a mortgage? Yes. Do you pay fees when you refinance? Yes. Upon the VA's investigation of these 3 firms, it was systemic. It was the entire organization. One of the firms is no longer in business. Their training manual for new hires was training new loan officers on how to double dip on a veteran. Somebody's telling you we got to go FHA. I got more questions than you can possibly imagine. It's not fair. Question? There is a waiting period, 6 months. 6 months. So after you've got it, after you've got a VA loan, and maybe you want to refinance, what's the waiting period on it? 6 months is usually the golden rule. If I'm not correct, it's 120 days.
210 days
210,
from the
sorry,
day
sorry.
of first.
210 days from the first payment date is when the VA will will allow you to refi again. But that's if you have a VA loan. If you have an FHA loan, it doesn't matter. 210. Funny fee? Yes. Yeah, but it's reduced. It's reduced. Alright, unless you have a service connected disability. Question?
If a buyer assumes the current VA loan, does the seller lose that benefit then?
Depends. If the buyer is a veteran, right, and they're assuming a veteran loan, they have the right to transfer that entitlement to the veteran and take over the mortgage, right? If the buyer is not a veteran, then the original veteran's entitlement stays on that house until it's sold, refinanced, or worst case scenario, foreclosed by the new buyer. If you're doing assumable loans, it's best to do it veteran to veteran, but it's not required. $90,000 house for rent. $90,000, that tier 1 or tier 2? Tier 1, right? Less than $144,000. So I'm about to show you something that's absolutely crazy. If you stay in tier 1 and you want to buy multiple houses in tier 1, we have a problem, right? So $90,000 house tier 1, 144 minus 90,000 means I only have $54,000 worth of eligibility. A lot of awesome houses for $54,000? Not really. So here's what's crazy. $140,000. I've got a rent house for 90, tier 1 or tier 2. $140,000, tier 1 or tier 2. Tier 1, less than 144. The VA is really telling us you can't own 2 houses in tier 1, because if you do, this person has a $21,000 down payment. So here's what's crazy. Stay with me. Remember the scenario 1 second ago? 140, tier 1, $21,000 down payment. 144,001, tier 1 or tier 2. No down payments. If you have a rent house, what did I just tell you? If you have a rent house, the next house you buy has to be in tier 2, or you will have a massive down payment responsibility. You guys tracking? If you have a rent house, the next house you buy has to be tier 2. If you have a rent house, county loan limits are back in effect for how much the government will guarantee, right? What is your county loan limit? 510. So let's do it easily. You got $510,000 worth of eligibility. You buy a $100,000 house, tier 1 or tier 2? Tier 1. I turn it into a rental. Next house I buy has to be tier 2. I buy a $200,000 house. So 510 minus 100,000, how much is left? 410. I buy the next house for 200,000. Tier 1 or tier 2? Tier 2. 410 minus 200,000, how much do I have left? 210. Tier 1 or tier 2? I can probably buy 3, maybe 4. Nope. Unlimited. Unlimited. Yes. I'm about to show you the rules. Crazy, isn't it? Everybody just gave you one. Congratulations, you made it through math. Alright, we've got about 3 segments left, and it's test time. So if you're a panicky test taker, now's the time to start shaking. Splitting entitlements. Can 2 non-married veterans buy a house together? They both served in the military, they're not getting married, can they buy a house together? Yes. A couple of rules apply. Number 1, the VA actually has to underwrite this thing. Number 2, each veteran will be charged 50% of their entitlement. What does that mean? Both of them have to have skin in the game. If it goes into foreclosure, both of them will have some burnt entitlement. Make sense? And number 3, you cannot stack the county loan limit. What does that mean? If you're out there buying a whole bunch of houses, you don't get $1 still 510, right? Now my favorite, a non-married co-borrower, one person's a veteran, one person is not. Can they buy a house together? They are not married. Can they buy a house together? Yes. Number one scenario we get, they'll call us up and they'll ask us, can me and my fiance live in sin? Welcome to America. For sure. You're good. So here's what the VA says. You're not married. We will only guarantee 12.5% of this loan. Well, every VA loan is a what guarantee? 25%. So what does this really mean? You're going to be bringing about 12.5% in cash to the closing table. If you're one's better and one's not, right? But if you get married, the VA sees you as one, and the whole 25% is covered. So what do you tell them to do? You're realtors. Stay in your lane. You became life counselors real quick. My realtor's pushy. Let's look at this house and stop by the JOB or JOB. Sign here. I was in Kentucky doing this. Had a realtor tell me, she said, well, I'm going to go become an ordained minister. We're going to solve all these problems. Entrepreneurs. That's how we roll. Yes, if you get married, you're good to go. So a couple of things on this segment. Number one, if the veteran qualifies by themselves, then just do the loan with the veteran. Make sense? If you want to add mom or dad to the loan, there's some rules that apply. But if mom or dad served in the military, it goes back up to here. Right? If mom or dad didn't, they might have a down payment responsibility. Okay? Ultimately, it's about evaluating the situation and doing what's best for all parties involved. Fair? Alright, so there's some rules that apply. Alright? Every single VA loan mandatorily has to be your primary residence. Okay? You can't buy an investment property. Everybody tracking? So a couple rules apply. I just closed at Fidelity National Title. Kathy just gave me the keys to my house. It is funded. How long until I have to move into the house? Got it. 60 days to occupy the home. Or up to 1 year with an approved situation by the lender or by the VA, right? Typical scenario: somebody is deployed or somebody's serving overseas, but they're coming back, but they find a house that they'd like to purchase. If it's less than a year, the VA is okay with that, right? Another situation that comes up quite a bit is somebody's a disabled veteran, and the house needs to be retrofitted. Yeah, retrofitted. That may or may not be 60 days. The VA understands that it could take longer than 60 days to get the house ready. Make sense? If it's longer than a year, it is not a VA authorized property. Make sense? So now I've moved into this house. I've been here for 1 second. How long do I have to stay until I can rent it or sell it? The golden rule, 1 year. Golden rule, what the VA says is you need to try to stay for a year. But what the actual regs say is until a valid change in circumstances. Typical valid changes, anything that might lead to foreclosure. Why would the VA care about foreclosure? 25%, right? Plus we don't want to put our veterans in harm's way. Or anything that causes extreme hardship on the veteran might also apply. So what do you think a valid change might be? Think about it from a military perspective. What do you think a valid change would be? Deployment, right? What else? Marriage, yes, you get married. She didn't like the house. We gotta buy something else. Yep, that counts. What else?
Divorce.
Divorce, why? No, because my realtor told me to get married. Talking about saving 12.5%. Just cost me 50. What else? Yes, it's a valid change. What else?
Sickness.
Change of job, absolutely. Illness, possibly. Depends. What else? You know my favorite? PCS all the time. Hey, we just had one. There it is. We just had one. Fort Bragg, North Carolina. He closed on his house. 8 days later, he got a piece of paper saying he was going to Frankfurt, Germany. That commute is terrible. Extreme hardship on the veteran. He lived there for 8 days, and if he sold it, he would have lost money based on commission and title company fees and blah, 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 blah. 8 days, turned it into a rental. Valid change, right? If it's not a valid change, how long you got?
1 year.
1 year. What is not a valid change? Anything that starts with I don't like. I don't like the neighbors. You used to. I don't like the school district. Homeschool, smarty. Right? I don't like the commute. Leave earlier. Right? Do you want to know my favorite valid change? Why can't the veteran occupy the house? He's currently taking up residency in the county. He's in jail. So you're like, what county? Jail. He's in jail. Some of his new friends. Alright. Inspections. Every VA loan in your state mandatorily has to have a wood destroying organisms inspection. Termite inspection. Right? Who has to pay for it?
Either one.
Who said it? Right there? Anybody. Anybody. You see all the red states? All the red states. The VA says we don't care who pays for this termite inspection. Just get it done. Why? Because we have them. Right? I live here. I'm growing professionally too. You know what doesn't have a termite problem? Alaska. Do you know why? It's too cold. It's that simple. You know how much a termite report costs in Alaska? $6. And they don't look at anything. They just send you a piece of paper. Because they don't have termites. They do have mosquitoes that look like hummingbirds though. Huge. You got it? Alright. Water tests. If your house has a water well, it is mandatory that it get inspected. And it has to pass. Right? You're gonna love the house. The E. coli is gonna help the kids grow. Yeah, living like traveling for a movie. Septic inspections. Septic inspections are technically only required if the appraiser requests it. So I'm not asking you on the test, mandatory or not. Termite, mandatory. Water well, mandatory. Septic, only if the appraiser requires it. Why would the appraiser require it? The house has been vacant for 6 months. No one's been using the septic norm regularly. That's usually a required inspection. Toilets don't flush. Kind of a dead giveaway. There's a new pond in the front yard that stinks. That's a problem. Right? Other than that, it's not mandatory. We don't care who pays for it. Yes.
So we have a really unique situation in our northwest part of town where they're currently on well and septic, but they are ready to be hooked up. All the city and sewer infrastructure is being done. They're just, a couple of weeks, maybe a month. Might be hooked up by closing, might not. Who makes that determination on the well?
Usually it's gonna be the appraiser.
Okay,
It's usually gonna be the appraiser.
okay.
So that's
Even on the well.
yeah, on the water well, even the appraiser's gonna look at that
Okay.
one because you guys are right in that, yeah, sweet spot.
Okay.
I've tasted some of the water out here. You gotta go with bottled. It's a little rough here. Welcome to Florida. Is it supposed to taste salty? Just start over brushing my teeth again. Alright, closing costs versus seller's concessions. 2 sections left and you're done. Closing costs versus seller's concessions. Technically, whatever's typical for the area. Your market, it's 2%, right? Closing costs can be used for loan origination, title company fees, mortgage company fees, things like this. You can request the seller to pay this. It is 100% negotiable. Everybody tracking? The seller doesn't have to pay it. Closing costs versus seller's concessions. Seller's concessions is a max of 4%. 4% plus 2% is what percent? 6. Thought you said we were done with math. 6% total. Seller's concessions can be used for things like the VA funding fee. You guys remember where we said the sellers would pay it? It is paid through seller's concessions, not closing cost. Everybody tracking? They're different. Other things, this is the big thing that most veterans will probably ask you for. You can use seller's concessions to pay prepaid property tax, prepaid insurance. That's the biggest one that tends to come up, right? Does the seller have to pay it? No, it is a negotiable item. Cool? I can do something really special though with seller's concessions. It's called save the deal. Not every loan, not every mortgage bank out there does this. We can do debt consolidation loans or debt consolidation purchases. What does this mean? When is seller's concessions negotiated?
Time of contract.
Day one, right? Day one. Let's say we negotiated with the seller to pay the VA funding fee, right? But all of a sudden we've got a deal that's going south. What can I do with that VA funding fee? I can roll it into the loan, and now I can take the seller's concessions and I can pay off any monthly debt. I can pay off a car. I can pay off child support, school loans, credit cards, and I can take somebody who is in the not qualified zone and get them back into the qualified zone. Pretty cool, right? We do it all the time. Yes, and you can use that for closing costs. Closing costs, I can buy down loans. Absolutely. Which right now we're not seeing a whole bunch of it because the market's incredible, right? So what's crazy about this, guys? You take a deal that's falling apart, use seller's concessions to pay for it, to get it to save the deal, and everybody always asks, because all of this happens at the title company. Nothing's paid before, right? People always say, well, how does the seller feel about that? When is it negotiated? Day one. If we don't do this, it's not going to close. Right? Makes sense? But if I use seller's concessions and I pay off a car and I eliminate a $600 a month car note, didn't I just drastically change their debt to income? Guys, it can be done.
Are you talking about using those seller's concessions at closing to do that?
Yes. Happens right through Fidelity. Fidelity sends payments out to wherever they need to go to eliminate that. It's a funding condition. Done.
Is
Yes.
that disclosed to the seller at the time of negotiation?
It will be on this closing disclosure. So the seller, I would say less than 5% of times the seller care, because the seller's really number one concern is, please close this thing. I've got another house under contract. I just need it done. Right? Every once in a while we'll get someone to go, I didn't agree to this. It's just a way in how you explain it. Everybody got it? Good. Last section. He's got the best notes ever. Alright, here we go. Residual income. Technically, a VA loan does not have debt to income. It has residual income. The way that it works is we take all the money that you make, we subtract all your bills, we have to account for two additional things. Test question. Child care expenses and utility costs. Child care and utility costs. Basically what the VA is saying is to be qualified for this home, you need to be able to feed your kids and keep the electricity on. Seems reasonable.
Can you rephrase that, please?
Rephrase it, let's see.
Say it again.
I'll show you here. Utility cost is 14 cents per square foot. So why does this matter? We take all the money you make, we subtract all of your bills, now we have to account for the size of this house. And if you have somebody who's really tight on qualification, you need to know what size house they can afford. Not price, size. Because a 2,000 square foot house, we have to subtract $280 from their income. 4,000 square foot house, we gotta take $560. We have seen deals where somebody sold a house where they're 10 square feet too big, and all of a sudden they didn't qualify, right? So here's what it looks like. The VA gives us a chart, and it says based on your family size, there's a certain amount of money you have to have available after we subtract everything. Make sense? Here's what it looks like. Let's talk about the first kid. Call this one my precious. VA says after we subtract all your bills, how much money do we need for my precious? It's about $500. Okay, it's a month. $500 after you've taken all your bills out. So you paid your principal, your interest, your taxes, your insurance, your car, all your credit cards. Then you take out the utility cost. If I have $500 or more, I'm qualified for this house. We have seen people with 65% debt to income ratios qualify because they don't have a whole lot of kids. All right? The VA did an investigation and they found something out. Breathtaking. Guess what they found out? The more kids you have, the more money you'll need. So now we get to kid number 2. Now we need $823 a month to be qualified for this house. Doesn't it make sense? Right? So just when you think you got it figured out, VA throws us a curveball. Because guess what the difference is between the 4th and 5th kid? $41 a month. How in the world is my precious worth $500, but the 5th one's worth $40? 3 reasons. Hand-me-downs, leftovers, and Costco. You may or may not find that in the VA manual. It's there. MREs, baby. The more of these guys you got, the more problems you got too, just so you know. My precious is 500. You know who my precious is, right? That's that one, everybody's buckled in, we got the mirrors, we can see everything. 5th kid, I know the band's moving, get in, buckle yourself. I don't care if you go or not. I was not my precious. See what it says when you, y'all see what it says when you get over 7? Guess what you got to do? They don't even give you a number. Minimum property requirements. This is just a few of them. Has to be titled as real estate, especially in your market. You cannot do a VA loan on an RV. Stop asking. It moves. 1, yes. Manufactured home is a yes. It has to be affixed to a permanent foundation. Has to be built after 1978. You have to own the land, so that's usually the killer around here, because all the things are shared lots. 1 to 4 units. 4plex is the biggest you can do. My platoon sergeant did a Sergeant Trujillo, so this is for anybody who might know somebody who's active. I have an idea for you. My platoon sergeant, Sergeant Trujillo, bought a 4plex. He bought a 4plex in Fort Hood, Texas. He rented it to the 3 section sergeants. We covered his whole mortgage, right? Guess what he did a year and a half later? He bought the one next door. It was like two down. And he started over. This was 22 years ago. He lives in San Diego, retired, the whole 9 yards. He still owns these 2 4plexes, and it's been rented out to the military for 22 years. Who do you think are the best renters on earth? The military. And who pays their rent? The military. It's called BAH, Basic Allowance for Housing. I'm just saying, if you know somebody who's active, brilliant. Got it? Energy efficient. Why are you guys not excited? This is my favorite part. Not that one. Yes. Not 1944. That will be soon. What is a VA loan?
25% guarantee.
That was a thunderous sound I thought we'd get, regardless of the fact that I gave you an entire slide with giant red numbers and told you test question number 1. And it's a 25% guarantee. Are we good? Yeah. All right. Some of y'all failed the echo rule. Failed rule number 1. Nailed rule number 2. Because we don't know. Who qualifies for bonus entitlement? What is bonus entitlement? Tier 2. Tier 2. Who qualifies?
People who have not defaulted or already have a loan.
So everyone who qualifies for Tier 1 is what I heard from one random soul out there. mistake takes about how long to fix? 20 days. 20 days. Jeff, what are we averaging right now on our team for VA loans?
Purchase or refund?
Purchase.
18 to 20 days.
It's not that complicated. Our company as a whole is averaging 22. My team, which does almost exclusively VA, is about 18 days. It's crazy, isn't it?
So refund.
That's easy. Purchase is hard. Refund is easy. Why do VA rules exist? Yes. Read the board. Yes, nice. To protect who? Veteran. Yeah, we got a hard protect the veteran. To protect who? Taxpayers. They keep care of. Close. To protect the VA. You better wake up. I'll start over. What's the maximum number of VA loans you can have? Unlimited. As much as you can qualify for. Can a vet buy back earned entitlement? Yes. Oh, you guys woke up in the back. This is a trick question. When is a qualifying vet not eligible for a VA loan?
Or they have a extended service on it.
This is a trick question. What does the word qualify mean? Any of you guys watch Cash Cab? Yes. These next questions are a little bit harder. Based on how this debacle went.
See,
What year was the VA loan created? Do your benefits expire? No. Can I use them more than once? Yes. Can I have more than one at a time? Yes. What is your county loan limit? 510. 400. Roger that. What happens if I go over the county loan limit?
you pay.
Pay how much? 25% down payment. If I had a foreclosure or short sale on a VA loan, can I get another VA loan?
Yes.
How long do I have to wait?
No way.
Up to the lender. Yes, no technical wait. Required inspections, mandatory or not? Termite. Yes. Septic. Yes. Welcome to my science experiment, where you have proven once again you can only learn in one way, and that is termite, water well, septic. And if I change it just a little, right off the cliff. Right off the cliff. Mandatory or not? Termite. Yes. Water well. Yes. Septic. No. I doubt it. I doubt it. VA funding fee. Find it in your notes. VA funding fee.
Data closing can be rolled into loan.
First question. When is it paid? Never before. Everybody tracking? Never. There are three traditional ways to pay the VA funding fee. What are they? Most common? Rolled into the loan. Right? Alright, here we go. VA funding fee. It is all one, now it's all equal for everyone. So National Guard reserves, veterans, and active duty all pay the same. So I'm getting a 100% mortgage. This is the first time I'm using my VA loan. The VA funding fee is
2.3.
for every subsequent use it is. 3.6. Can I put money down on a VA loan? Yes. And if I put as little as 5% down, what does it drop to? 1.65. There is one thing and one thing only that will waive the VA funding fee. What is it? What type of disability? Service-related, military-related disability. Should you ask? Yes. How do you ask? I love nicely. It's my favorite. How disabled are you? you receiving any funds from the VA? Do you have a service-connected disability? And for those of y'all who don't like doing that, what do? No. Did you know that if you have a service-connected disability, you educate? Right? So who should you ask?
Buyer.
Who should you ask? Everyone, right? Everybody agree you should ask everyone? So I just told all of you guys this. How many of y'all would have actually asked me? If you were working with me, how many of you would have actually asked me? Okay, so the other half is probably right. So here, this is why I say this. It's not for sympathy. It's just because I have to prove a point. I have a 60% service-connected disability. I destroyed my leg in the Army. I've had 4 knee surgeries. The last one was 2 months ago. That's why I didn't do 20. That's why I did 8. Right? I'm telling you right now that if you thought to yourself that you wouldn't ask me, I need you to rethink it. Because if you could have saved me 3.6%, I now work with you for life. You understand that? And if you don't ask and your loan officer doesn't ask, what do we got? No problem. Make sense? Ask everyone. Because the biggest one that's out there is tinnitus. Y'all know what that is? Ringing in the ears. How many of y'all can see ringing in the ears? Guys, 10%. VA funding fees going. What is the greatest website in the world? Facebook. What is the most important document you need to get a VA loan? COE, certificate of eligibility. Where can you get that? Online, or your lender can pull it easily. Time of service. How long do I have to serve if I'm in the Gulf War era, which is the last 30 years? 24 months? Or 90 days? 24 months is also known as? 2 years. The answer is? C. I set you up. C.
I gave you all the right answers, you just don't
Tinnitus. Reserve and National Guard. 6 years. Or? What are the 2 discharges that will stop you from getting a VA loan? Dishonorable and bad conduct. And who do you give them to? And what do you inform them?
Don't want my money.
Should you survive, I want my 25%. Can 2 non-married veterans buy a house together? Yes, 3 things come into effect. Who underwrites it? VA. Do they both have to have skin in the game? Yes. Can they stack the county loan limit? No. Second scenario, can they live in sin? Yes. What happens if they do? 12.5% gets paid at closing, right? So what do you tell them to do? Get married.
Unqualified.
But if they do get married, they are seen as and the entire 25% is covered. Getting married. Man, y'all are quick. Marriage house. Let's go. What are your thoughts on kids? All married family. Oh no. Occupancy rules. I just closed on the house at Fidelity National Title. They were so kind, they gave me the keys and funded. How long do I have until I have to move in? 60 days or with a qualified story approved by the VA, right? I've now moved into the house. I've been there for 1 second. How long do I have to stay until I can rent it or sell it? 1 year. 1 year is the golden rule, or valid change in circumstances. What's a valid change? Sick, deployed, divorce. Why? Divorce. Why? Because my realtor told me to get married. This is my realtor's fault. That's why we don't run around telling people to get married. My favorite? Yeah. What is not a valid change? You don't like the neighborhood. I don't know what I did to y'all. Like you either. Residual income. There are 2 additional calculations for residual disposable income. What are they?
Child care
Utility
and
costs.
utilities.
Child care, utility costs is how much? The more kids you got, the more what you need? Money, right? What else do you have? More problems. The difference between the fourth and fifth kid is how much? $41. Why? Hand-me-downs? Leftovers? Costco. And my precious is worth how much? 500. Love that. Love that. What is the minimum credit score you need to get a VA loan?
There is no minimum.
Who has one?
The lender.
The lender. So I'm going to say it like this. If I see you on the Twitter sphere writing crazy things like no job, no money, no credit, no problem, I'll find you. That is not what I said. The VA said you got to serve the proper amount of time and you got to do it the right way. The lender establishes their guidelines. Fair? Questions, comments, snide remarks? Snide remark?
For those that were lost in the fire, how do you want to make room?
We'll do a Valor check. All VA certified condos that are actually out there, we can send that to you if you just want to email us and tell us it's it
There's a
or whatever.
website. There's a
Secondly, if it's not a VA certified condo, what they would like to be, we have a department at Mutual of Omaha who will help them get their paperwork right. Not everybody has that. It's awesome. Other questions? All right, for the sake of time, I'm going to move on. I'm going to point out just a couple of things. So we're Mutual of Omaha. This is part of my team here. They're local here. We are licensed in 48 different states. Why do I tell you this? Because if you know a veteran, you have a family member, you have a friend, or whatever, and even though they might not be in your market, that doesn't mean that you can't help them. At Mutual of Omaha, we don't charge a loan origination fee. We don't charge mortgage fees to our veterans. We've chosen as a company that this is how we give back, and it's not to take it in the first place. Okay? You know somebody who has an FHA loan, or they're a conventional loan where they're paying PMI, they may want to do a refinance. It could be significantly worth their while, especially with rates right now. My team can work directly with them. You can be a part of that transaction. We also have people who ask us for cash out refis all the time and education refis. We know how those programs work. Let us know. We'll take care of it. We are also the largest reverse mortgage purchase company in the world. Right? Regardless of how you feel about reverse mortgage, here's what I'll say about this thing. There's a whole bunch of changes that happen in this thing, right? As a real estate agent, I suggest that you take some time to understand how these programs work because 39% of our current population qualify. There's a whole bunch of people starting to use this program to buy a house. I know that there's a lot of myths, and I know that there's good and bad with it. Take time to understand it, see if you can help somebody. We do everything. Conventional loans, FHA loans, jumbo loans, you name it. 17 days, press closings if needed. All I'm really telling you is this. When it comes to VA, I want you to think of us first, right? When it comes to everything else, I'll earn your business in time. Is that fair? Good. When it comes to VA, people need to be taken care of the right way. We're going to do that, I promise. Fair? Other than that, I'll put this back up in a minute. You guys can come up in social media and take all the pictures in the world. But this is what you need to do. You are going to go to thevaloan.org. Thevaloan.org. You're going to click the register button. Because you've taken this class, you are now authorized to register. When you register, it's going to ask you two questions. It's going to ask you, what branch did I serve in? Army. Cool. And it's going to ask you, what is the minimum credit score the VA requires to get a VA loan? Zero. And if you answer those two questions correctly, it will allow you to create your own website. On this website, you put your picture, you put all your information, put the areas that you service, more importantly, put why the military matters to you, because that is a consumer-facing website where when they go search it by zip code, they're going to find people who sat through my class, and they're going to work with those people. The other thing that's going to do is it's going to create your emblem. And on this emblem, it says that you are a VA certified agent. This emblem is downloadable. You can put it on your social media. You can put it on your email signature address. You can put it on your business card. When somebody clicks on this emblem, it is digitally tied to you. It goes back to your website. It's pretty cool, right? Ton of people click on this thing on social media. It's insane. But why is it also cool? Because if somebody gets a mortgage with Mutual of Omaha and they've clicked on this logo, it is digitally tied to you for life. We send the lead back to you. And now you get a pre-qualifier. Cool, right? Yeah. That's what we really want. Other than that, the cliff notes for the class, it's broken down into seller, buyer, and real estate agent. All of that's downloadable on there. There's also all kinds of resources for you, the e-benefits website. There's all kinds of things on this website designed to make your life easier. I run it, okay? My website. Other than that, points, right?
Did they pass the test?
No. They botched it early. So here's the deal. We are about to pass out the military challenge points. Some of y'all who started in the military, we know what this is all about. But here's the deal. For those of y'all who don't know what this is about, if you go over on that side in the middle of an aisle, there's an entire long thing full of challenge points. Anytime you do something special in the military, usually when you deploy, or usually when you accomplish something that's great, a commanding officer or somebody like that will issue you a challenge point as a remembrance token, right? And a lot of us in the military like to collect these things. They're pretty cool. It's a thing to remember. Because you gave me 2 hours of your life, we're giving you guys a coin to remember this day. You have an obligation now to help veterans and do it the right way. Cool? Questions? Did you learn anything? Yes. Did you like it? Yes. Thank you guys.
You win $2,000.
I'm in.
And I need to do some decorator. Now, David, you pull it. They're not going to mess with you.
So I get to make one friend and 80 enemies? Hey, so here's the deal too, because they just asked you. You guys are going to get, for everybody who registered and signed up and was getting text messages from me, you will get a video email on how to do everything that I just told you, and you will get all of our direct contact information. If you didn't get our text messages, then you need to ensure that I get your business card before you leave, so that I can enroll you and then you can actually sign it. Fair? Alright, so what am I looking for? Is it one winner or we a bunch of winners?
This is my ugly one. First in the can.
So we have a book called Real Estate Agents. This book is absolutely amazing. You can double your business by following the steps of this book.
You guys think I'm cheap? Fernanda? Sorry!
And